What is up, guys? It's Giltspire here, and welcome back to Champions of the Fog. Today, I am joined by TravistyOnDemand. How you doing today, Travesty?
I am doing extremely well. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. I cannot complain. Wicked excited to be here, especially off of that last match between Sample Text versus Cerebral Assassins. So very excited to see what IA and UA have in store. I'm not sure if you're aware, but these are two sides of a very similar coin. IA being a satellite team of Undying Alliance. So, going to be interesting to see, does the student surpass the master?
Yeah, I'm very interested in this matchup, and I think that it's going to be very exciting.
I 110% agree, but with that being said, I believe that builds are good to go. We did prep them ahead of time, since we're running a little bit late with the Twins match with Sample Text and Cerebral Assassins going on for 30 minutes. I imagine that was exhausting, not just for the players, but also for the host and co-host going, okay, well, Survivors are resetting now again.
Yeah, that match was just so exciting. I was sitting here on the edge of my seat going, someone make a move. Someone get something.
Trust me, it was one of those moments my team and I were watching the match, and literally we're just sitting there screaming, pick up the Steve, please!
Yeah, because it comes to a point where you do have to secure the points in some way. So it was very interesting to see how that match played out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, I think that went really, really well. I love seeing it. I'm going to have to go back and watch with the VOD. That way I can actually hear myself, given that I was yelling constantly at our killer and at our survivors to do X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. One of the hard parts of being a comp player, but not playing in the moment, where you're just yelling constantly, like, do this, do that, please. But, you know, wicked excited to have UA and IA here. But as we are loading up here, let's talk about some stuff non-related to COTF. What are your thoughts on what's going on in the PTB? I'm not sure if you got any time to play the PTB, to watch the PTB. I spent pretty much from Tuesday to Thursday just constantly testing out all the new stuff. What are your thoughts on things from boon totems to killer buffs, killer nerfs?
So I did play approximately 3 hours in the PTB. My first thought is I love the buff on Trapper. Absolutely love the buff, and he should have always started with 2 traps at the very beginning. That should have always been a part of his base kit, so I'm really glad that they were able to make that change. And I like some of the add-on changes that were made specifically for the Trapper. I think they're great. The Spirit nerf was definitely needed because there was a lot of guessing that was involved before. Now it's going to give the survivors a little bit more help in order to be able to loop, especially when the Spirit is phasing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm one of those people where it's like a 50-50 coin toss. Where is it going to go? And it never works out in my favor for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, it helps. It helps a little bit.
And then I have to admit that it actually is pretty much more significant than I thought, but it still isn't to such a point where you can always tell where she is. You know that she's near, but you don't know from what direction. So in a way, you can tell, okay, she's on her way. She's, you know, going to try and down me here or get a hit. But if you're at a pallet and you're trying to mind game that, you don't fully know or understand where she is. She could be on either side because that sound is just, I think it's capped out, like the closest the sound can get is like maybe 20, 22 meters, because once it gets to 24, it's almost indistinguishable of, you know, what direction she's at, if she's on your left or on your right.
No, I completely agree. And then the boon totems. Those, oh my, as a survivor main, it just hurts just because I think we're going to see a little bit of a buff with the boon totems before it goes live.
You think they're going to get buffed?
No, nerfed.
Oh, thank God. I was like, wait a second.
Nerfed.
They
are
very strong.
Right now, they're extremely overpowered. And someone did point out that perhaps it seems overpowered because everyone is running the new character with the perks, which is
True.
why we're seeing it so often.
True, true. But we are about to load in now. Everyone has readied up. We are going to be on Azrov's resting place with Immortal Alliance killing first. And we have Ocean of Flavor on Killer. So, very excited to see what Ocean brings to the table here.
Yeah, very. I wonder what they're going to bring in. Do they want to come out really strong, or do they want to bring out an A or possibly a high B tier killer?
Yeah, no, that is going to be an interesting thing. You know, obviously these teams know each other really well. They probably scrim each other all the time. I actually scrimmed UA earlier this week as well on both these maps, and so I'm interested to see if the feedback that I provided them on Azrov's resting place is going to matter here. But we're jumping on in, and we have a twins. Another twins on ARP. I'm not sure if I should be happy about this or a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I think twins could be a very good choice here, especially given how big the map could be. I think it could be a very good one to slow things down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At the same time, I will say I do love insta-down or mobility killers like Blight, like Bubba on this map, because if you're able to get this first down quickly on the corrupted side, which we could see here as Ocean is on a survivor already, I mean, that could be game ending for the survivors. And Ocean already in a chase here, but they gained a lot of good distance. But I'm kind of interested. What are your thoughts on this play here with them blocking that totem that way?
I think for them, it's a guarantee to make sure that if they happen to know that it's there, they have to get rid of Victor first. And that's giving instant knowledge to the killer that they know where that totem is.
Yeah, no, that is a fair point. The biggest thing is, like, Victor's such a big part of Twins' kit, of course. But at the same time, you know, I think that most Twins are going to be going for that M1 first with Charlotte, if need be, then transferring over to Victor. And we do still hear a totem go off, and as we still see, or hear rather, Ruin is still up and active, suggesting that was Undying.
Yeah, protecting that totem is going to be very huge, because if someone comes over, they're going to get the heartbeats from Victor. They'll be able to transition and hopefully get some work in.
At the same time, you kind of have to question whether or not that's a good idea, because you're kind of relegating such a big part of your kit to protecting that totem, where you really do need it for those chases, as we do see here with the Nancy. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is the right move in the long run. We'll have to see if it pays off, especially where now Ocean really does have to commit to a specific side of the map. Do they want to work on their corrupted side, or are they going to work on Shaq's side instead? I think different people have different takes. What's your take? What side, if you're on Twins, if you're on ARP, what side do you lock down?
Oh God, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Part of me would want to lock down the corrupted side once that went away, because you want to protect that 3-gen, and especially with Twins being notorious for slugging. That's really strong, and it's really hard for survivors to destroy that 3-gen.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, we do see that 3-gen over in Corrupt side now getting broken into. At the same time, we do see Ruin over on the side where they still have some active gens to work with. We do want to note that they did get 1 gen here, so it has broken up that 3-gen. Unless they extend this 3-gen out to middle as well, this could be a really good example of a 2-2 split for the survivors. And right now, Ocean has not gotten any downs, let alone any hooks this entire time. So Ocean definitely in a bit of trouble right now, where these survivors are really putting the pressure on them to, you know, potentially get a very early lead.
Yeah, the pressure needed to come from the killer at the very beginning. The pressure should never be coming from the survivors. So right now, I think Ocean is a little bit behind, and hopefully they can come back and get some momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, really smart heads-up play here by High Surveillance. A lot of people don't think about it enough about utilizing lockers when they're far enough away. And I think we're even going to see a potential body block here to ensure that they are able to get out of the locker. So really, really smart heads-up play, really good coordination from the team, no panic whatsoever, and allows Ocean that ability to gain distance now and even crushes Victor with the pallet.
Oh, that had to hurt. That had to hurt. There was a lot of pressure with Victor going for that chase, and that pallet stun really slowed things down for them.
Yeah, and I think once again, just showing really good plays by Undyne Alliance here on Survivor's side, because a lot of people do forget to use pallets in that way, and normally don't want to can pallets against the killer, but the nice thing about playing against Victor is that he really can't mind game you as easily as other killers could as an M1. You know, you can't red light mind game trick in those moments, so being able to camp that pallet, get that crush, gets Victor very literally off your back.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't want to use the pallet just because it's such a valuable resource. And from what we saw from High Surveillance, reminding us that using the pallet on Victor can be very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ocean's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, you want to stick on this side of the map because this gen is about complete. At the same time, there's still 2 gens on the other side, and I bet you they're on it.
Ooh, it's going to be very tricky. I wonder at this point if he tries to go just for a one kill, just to confirm some sort of points so that they're not too far behind.
I mean, you need to, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I will say for Ocean in this scenario, really good exit gate setup. So I think the possibility of a one hook, 2 progressions is probably likely, unless these survivors are able to, take it nice and slow. To be fair, they're not in a rush, right? They can take this as slow as they need, get hit, reset, rinse, repeat, and just slowly but surely eke out pressure on these exit gates until they're able to get an out.
Especially since the exit gates are not going to lose their progress when you're not on it. They can take their time.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing to also keep in mind that the survivors do need to at least consider is the fact that when Victor is on a healthy survivor, it does apply a Blood Warden-like effect. So with that being said, something to think about all the while. But Ocean really going for that committed play on Nancy. And I think this is the right move. As much as you probably want to guard that exit gate, I think not going for the Nancy would be a mistake here. And trying to identify where Nancy went, but kind of getting a little bit thrown off guard. And I don't know if Nancy has a med kit, but if she does or has any way to heal herself, which she seems to, that puts Ocean to a very, very unfortunate position where now Victor is out, but can High Surveillance crush Victor before they're able to get to the exit gate, or will that Blood Warden effect, as I mentioned prior, come into consideration?
Yeah, and right now we see the crushing of Victor, and I think it's going to be a 4-out with no hooks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really unfortunate scenario for Immortal Alliance, especially on that map that is very much, killer-sided. But it looks like Ocean and Ryan here, having some fun time. But that will result in a full 50 points for UA and 0 points for Immortal Alliance. I mean, Immortal Alliance is going to have to pretty much do the same exact thing. Otherwise, this could be a very early sign of victory for Undyne Alliance.
Yeah, so Immortal Alliance right now needs to regroup and say, okay, that's all right. We're going to come back, and we're going to come back strong, and we're going to get the 50 points as well. So they need to bounce back and not let the morale from this game affect them.
Yeah, no, I 110% agree. So if you were Immortal Alliance in this case, knowing that Azrael's resting place is a killer-sided map, what would you be bringing to the table? What would you be thinking in this moment? How would you want to play this?
I think this is a point where you bring out your S-tier killers. They applied a lot of pressure on them getting a 4-man out with no hooks. You need to apply the same pressure back to UA and say, we're not out of this just yet. So I'm thinking Spirit. I'm thinking Nurse. I think you got to bring out the big guns for this next match.
Yeah, but keep in mind that, that was Immortal Alliance on Killer, so now they're moving to Survivor side, right?
Oh
So,
no, you're right. You're right. I
yeah, so
apologize.
as a Survivor main, you're going to this, you're talking with your team, you're thinking about what the strategy is on this map. Obviously, you want, ideally, one Survivor on either side to break the 3 gens, and then one person chasing, maybe the third person's in the middle doing gens. So, what do you do? What's the game plan here to ensure victory?
Break up the 3 gens on both sides. It could be possible that we see someone who is their strongest looper engaged in chase at the very beginning, keep the killer distracted so that the gens can get done. We could see that strategy be pulled out.
Yeah, no, that is a fair play. I think, whoever's going to take that first chase is really going to set the tone for this match, as High Surveillance will be killing for Undyne Alliance. And as we've seen many times from High Surveillance, they are a competent killer. Not to suggest that anyone else isn't, but at the same time, they are going to be coming out swinging. They have a game plan in mind, and I can say from playing against them before, they're going to take a side, choose what side they want to work on, probably the corrupted side, sit there with whoever they're playing as, and that's pretty much going to be it. It's okay if the Survivor team gets 4 gens. As long as you get the 4K, that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough for Immortal Alliance, but they can do it. They just need to pressure those 3 gens and get those out of the way, because High Surveillance is a very good killer in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, will be interesting to see. If you're High Surveillance, you're 50 points up. On one hand, obviously, High Surveillance probably knows Immortal Alliance better than I do. But if we're kind of, severing off that connection for a moment, if you're High Surveillance and you're 50 points up, do you bring, like, a D tier, C tier, even B tier killer? Like, do you want to bring out an A tier, or do you want to bring out the A or S tier now, shut down the game, get another, 40, 50 points, and just say, okay, we're done here?
I don't think that you bring out your D tier killers, especially if this is your first killer match. I think that you would want to bring out a B or an A tier. I think that's where I would go.
That's fair, that's fair. I can definitely see that. I think I agree with you here. On one hand, I think taking it easy is something you want to do in that 3rd or 4th game. Whereas, since it's the 2nd game, I think you kind of come out swinging, you put the nail in the coffin, you get, 100 points, 90 points ahead, and you say, cool, we can now chill a little bit. I can now use Legion on game 3. I can now use Trapper on game 3, right? So, it'll be interesting to see there. But taking a step away from the match at hand, let's go back to Boon Totems for a second, because I want to get your take. Obviously, we're not going to see Boon Totems in Season 1, but in Season 2, there is a conversation to be had whether or not they'll be a part. I think as they stand now, personally, between the Built-to-Last change and the Boon Totems, if I'm looking at it from a commissioner standpoint, Circular Healing probably would be banned in its current form. Built-to-Last is getting banned in its current form. What are your thoughts? If they were to make a change to Boon Totems, what would need to be done to make it okay in comp?
Well, first, the Boon of Healing, I believe is what it's called.
Circle
I
of
can't
Healing.
remember. Circle of Healing. I think the healing speeds need to be applied at the same rate as the perk Self-Care. First, that healing needs to be slower. Secondly, I guess this would be for all Boon Totems in general. If the killer snuffs out a Boon Totem, you shouldn't be able, as a survivor, to immediately go to the totem and then reapply that boon. I think there needs to be some sort of cooldown. And finally, I think that instead of being able to do multiple totems, only one active totem can be the boon. Those would be my recommendations for how we nerf the boons.
Yeah, I think I'm with you in part of what you said. I think the biggest thing for boon totems as a whole should be that when the killer snuffs out a boon totem, it breaks the totem, period. It removes it from the game. This would then make it so that survivors are not able to simply reapply. As far as it being at self-care speed, I'm actually fine with it being at full speed, and the reason why I say that is because there is a risk versus reward. Right now there is reward with no risk. And if you're able to apply a risk to that, I think that's where boon totems become okay as how strong they are, because they're much like hexes. They need to be worth it. Otherwise, we get, hex perks used in comp, or, only Ruin, or Devour, or Undying, or Haunted Ground used in comp, versus other things that are kind of falling through the wayside because they really aren't viable, whether that be in your pub meta or your comp meta. So I think the high reward should be there. And keep in mind that when it takes 16 seconds, give or take, to bless a totem, you only start to see a benefit as far as time after the third heal using that boon, right? So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind, is that the time investment needs to be there, because if the killer simply sees it, breaks it, and you spend 16 seconds, 0 heals, you just wasted 16 seconds that you otherwise would have been on gens. So that time breakdown, I think, really comes into perspective then.
No, but when you do bring those up, I agree 110% with everything that you've said. I agree with that. And especially if we go with the notion that the killer, when he snuffs out the totem, would actually destroy the totem, I think those changes would actually fit in quite nicely.
Yeah, so, if we kind of take a step away from Circle of Healing, obviously really, really strong. What are your thoughts on Shadow Step? When I was playing as Survivor, I was not as high on Shadow Step initially. Then I started playing Killer and started to see Shadow Step be used, and when you were to go through, that boon totem area, realizing, man, this is actually a lot better than I anticipated.
Yeah. I was playing Killer, going up against those totems a lot, and not being able to see the auras made it feel like you needed to rely on instinct. And especially since in comp we're not seeing too much aura reading, so I don't think it would affect the comp scene too much. I think it's more effective in the pub because everyone loves to run barbecue and chili as its main perk for aura scene.
Yeah, no, that is a fair assessment there. I was just really surprised that how effective it was, especially against Spirit. I think if you're playing against a Spirit, surprisingly enough, it can be really, really strong because it does remove not just your auras, but also your scratch marks, right? Where if you're within that range, it removes it. Basically, it's half a lucky break. And so that's one thing that really threw me for a loop. The aura reading is actually insane because of barbecue and chili. I remember I tried to play some Vanity Mirror Myers because they buffed Vanity Mirror, and I was on Midwich and went, oh, well, I can't use Vanity Mirror because literally one single boon totem covers the entire freaking map.
Oh, we hate to see that. We hate to see that.
Yeah, it was something. But I do believe that Giraffe has some news for us.
Yes, builds are ready. We're good to go.
Awesome, awesome. I will let them know. But yeah, so that's where, on one hand, if you're using Circle of Healing, I feel like maybe Shadow Step could just be auto-included in that build because it does provide some value in those unique instances, whether that be scratch marks or otherwise. At the same time, Circle of Healing is just such a good perk on its own. The unfortunate part, it does not synergize with any totem builds because when you bless, it does not count as a cleanse. And I think that was a safety valve that you couldn't simply get infinite inner strength, right? At the same time, I think that they need to maybe put an asterisk around inner strength, around counterforce, something, because it I think not being able to get a quote-unquote cleanse off a blessing is not beneficial to any perk synergy, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So if you were to put an asterisk next to those perks, what would that asterisk be?
Yeah, so for inner strength, it would be specifically if you break a totem or cleanse a totem, then inner strength activates. But for example, for counterforce, I think it should be if you cleanse or bless a totem, counterforce activates. So that way you can still get that counterforce value and try and find ruin as you go from, maybe a bless to a totem to a break. then break that totem, then next counterforce, so on and so forth, because counterforce really does kind of fall to the wayside if you're ever using any boon totems, whereas inner strength, if you're able to get a proc off of cleanses and blessings, well, that would be a wee bit strong for obvious reasons.
Yeah, obviously. And I really wonder if the week or two when they come up with the update after this major update, if we're going to see changes to those perks specifically to clarify those ambiguities.
Yeah, it definitely will be interesting to say, because I know Clairvoyance, one of Michaela's own perks, does not have that asterisk. You know, if you bless, Clairvoyance does not activate. You physically have to break the totem, which, why would you? If I'm using Circle of Healing, I'm just going to bless over Ruin, bless over Haunted Ground if I want to, right?
Yeah, and then just get rid of those entirely.
Exactly, but we are loading up now for game number 2, Immortal Alliance versus Undyne Alliance. Yeah, I have to think wait, no, did I say that right? No, I did. They are correct. Immortal Alliance and Undyne Alliance. But we are back on Azrael's resting place, this time with High Surveillance as the killer. And as we mentioned earlier, Immortal Alliance is currently 50 points down, so they're going to have to make a major comeback here. But we are back, and we see the Plague.
This is interesting. I wonder why they decided to go with this particular killer.
I mean, Plague right now, some people would argue that Plague is an A-tier killer as is. I would still say that she is B-tier, so I think it's a safe bet, and especially if you do have the ability to lock down a 3-gen and vomit on those generators, and get some info on top of the potential break later down the road, that could be rather strong, especially if, let's say, the last 3 pools of Devotion are on your 3-gen side. That means that no matter what, you know, there are survivors who are going to be broken, right? So that could be a part of the game plan here, and I actually kind of like that when I think about it a little bit more.
No, it's very interesting when you bring it into that perspective. For Immortal Alliance, these first 2-3 minutes of the game are going to be huge, and it's going to set the tone for the rest of the match.
Yeah, no, 110%. So I think between, as we saw, multiple totems on this map, as we see a survivor now getting infected, giving High Surveillance some information to where these survivors are, it's going to be interesting to see how they play around this, because a lot of people have one of 3 strategies that they play around going against Plague. You either insta-cleanse, you either use 2 and 2, where 2 survivors stay infected, 2 survivors stay healthy, and they kind of rotate around, or you just don't cleanse right. What's your take here? What do you think is the best course of action for Immortal Alliance?
Me personally, I wouldn't want to feed into the Plague's power, so initially I would start off not cleansing. I think you want to save your cleanse towards the end of the game if you want to secure the outs.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that. I know that in our practice with sample text, we very much are cleanse, you know, immediate cleanse, try and get it down to 1 or 2 cleanses left, and the Plague's not really being attentive of how many pools of devotions are left. It does allow you that ability to potentially get your power for free. Yes, you know, get the Plague's power for free, but at the same time, it takes it down from, you know, 6 potential powers down to 1. So condensing it down to 1 60-second moment is, you know, arguably better than, you know, giving them 3 or 4, you know, corrupt purges, right?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And we're starting to see, what is that, Ocean back into chase with High Surveillance?
Yeah, looks like High Surveillance is going for that second stage. They want Ocean out of the game early, which, as we know in comp, is the right move to make. Reduce resources early and slow down the game for these survivors. And at the end of the day now, High Surveillance just needs a question. Do I eat DS? Do I not? Do I take my time? And we do see that first gen pop off on Shaq's side, so I think that solidifies in High Surveillance's mind that they're probably going to play this side of the map for all intent and purpose.
Yeah, it looks like they broke off one part of a 3-gen. If they break up the other part and get rid of that gen in the middle, they're going to be in a pretty good spot and hopefully get some outs.
Yeah, there is that possibility, but at the same time, we see 3 survivors broken right now, and that's a really difficult position for them to be in. You know, that's a lot of free value that high surveillance doesn't need to really work for, right? They infect themselves over time, and now they could potentially get 2 people slugged out as of this moment.
Yeah, because no one has gone over to pick up Ocean yet, so this is gonna be rather tricky. Now let's see what they can do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to come into question whether or not high surveillance is going to disengage chase here, which it looks like they are, to try and either go for the pickup on Ocean, which definitely doesn't have, you know, Unbreakable, doesn't have Decisive Strike at this point. And looks like Ocean didn't really move all too much, you know. Didn't really go to a corner or crawl towards their survivors, and will end up on that second hook here within this 3-gen. I do want to note, however, that both totems have been cleansed, meaning that high surveillance is, as far as we are aware, out of any form of gen regression.
Yeah, I feel bad because Ocean, once he started to recover, needed to move. You got to make the Plague work to pick you up. You got to make them waste their time so that while people are working on the gens, they can knock out more gens, keeping the Plague distracted, trying to find the Steve that's on the floor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if we're kind of looking at the situation now, right, I will say we do know now that Pop is not in play, and because of that, that does really put high surveillance in a bit of an awkward predicament, as though, yes, you're getting downs, it's only been 2 downs, 2 hooks, with 3 gens done, and looks like high surveillance getting Ocean again, and curious if they're going to slug out, or if they're going to pick up for that potential kill.
I think since there was another survivor here, they may go into chase, but they choose to pick up.
And that will be a kill for high surveillance on Ocean of Flavor. So this is where it gets into an interesting predicament for these survivors. Yes, you've broken up the 3-gen on the side. You're left with a 3-gen here now to try and contest. But now you have one less survivor to really work with, and it looks like Meg going into a corner, wasting some time, and the survivors do break the 3-gen after all.
That is huge for them. Now with one person out of the game, they really need to make sure that they can get one more gen and hope for 2 out just to try and get some points out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a prime position for Immortal Alliance to be in, and a really uncomfortable one for Undyne Alliance, as we do see the situation at hand now where they could potentially get a 3-man out if played correctly. But I do want to note that the hook has been left alone. That's 2 survivors on this side of the map, and now high surveillance kind of patrolling that middle area with both of them broken. This could very well result in a snowball.
Yeah, I think so. This is going to be very tricky. With the down right there, yeah, it looks like they're leaving them to go for a slug, maybe?
Yeah, more...
And doing a 360 vomit, of course.
You know, just a celebratory vomit. Who doesn't take a quick vomit, you know, projectile vomit in celebration? That's a normal thing, right?
Yeah. You see it in comp all the time. So, you know, high strategy we're going for with that particular move.
So it is possible here that maybe survivors have run over hatch at some point or know where it is, and so maybe they're trying to, you know, just trying to get the one person out on 4 gens, which is definitely an improvement points-wise. But they're going to do something here to try and get maybe just one more gen, get some points, bridge the gap just a little, because right now we're looking at 14 points for IA to 12 points to, you know, Undyne Alliance. So they still need to do something here.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see right now is that they're going to leave, I can't read their name, is it Andreas?
Andreas, yep.
Yeah, they're going to leave Andreas on the hook to die, and Ace is working on the gen on the other side of the field. I bet that's what's happening as this Fang is in chase right now.
Yeah, more likely than not, and Fang Min, kind of hard for high surveillance to tell whether or not she has DS, because normally if Deliverance, you can use the broken stats effect as a bit of a DS timer, but where you're already broken, you can't exactly do that now, can you?
Yeah, so at this point, it's like, oh, they got the final gen done.
They did indeed, so this is actually a huge thing for Immortal Alliance. That is an additional 6 points, and honestly, if we're kind of looking at the grand scheme of things, definitely will prove beneficial. And on top of which, not only did it get the gen done, but we see the Fangmen get back up as of this moment.
That is huge. They're going to be, hopefully, they can get the 2 out, because that's, what, 3 plus 6? That's 9 extra points for Immortal Alliance. Those are huge, especially with that first game.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a huge, huge play, especially if in an instance that Ace is able to escape. We do want to note that Ace has not been hooked yet, so if High Surveillance is playing 4 points here, which he should be, it would be best to get the Ace on hook and not to allow him to escape, as that would, you know, potentially get you an additional 10 points versus hooking the Fang Min, which would be an additional 7 at most.
Yeah, I wonder if you're High Surveillance at this point, if you just go for Ace, try and get all of the points, or do you pressure the exit gates?
I mean, you could potentially do both here, as we do see that slug, and neither exit gate has any real pressure. So with High Surveillance also knowing that Unbreakable has been used, they can go for Ace pretty freely. And as we saw earlier, the hatch is on the other side of the map, so unless the Fangman's able to crawl all the way over, I think that this will result in a 4K.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 4K as well, and it looks like there's not going to be any Soul Guard play, right? Because all of the Hex Totems have been cleansed.
Yes, unlike what we saw in the game with Cerebral Assassins versus Sample Text, I don't think we'll see any Soul Guard usage here, especially as both totems have been cleansed in full. So I think this will result in a 4K, as we do see Ace go up on first hook. And though they could attempt a Kobe, I think it would be less than ideal for them.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. And oh no, Fang's been found.
Yeah, Fangman is on the ground. She did not get a lot of distance here, you know. Unless you're running Tenacity, which I don't think I've ever seen running comp, you're not exactly going to get far when slugged out.
No, yeah, and so with that hook, it's right now the Ace needs to try and 4% and hope that they can get off the hook. Otherwise, that's game.
I mean, there's no reason to do so. That's potentially giving the killer an extra point, though you could try and get to the other side of the map. You know, I think just suiciding out here is the right play. And as we do see Fangman die on hook, so too will the Ace. So we are looking at a total of 20 points for Immortal Alliance, 43 points for Undying Alliance. And that will result in a total of Undying Alliance at 93 and Immortal Alliance at 20. Is it impossible for Immortal Alliance to come back here? No. Is it improbable? Yeah, it's not looking great. It's not looking great.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because this next game, especially since we're going to a different map, it's going to be so hard, but they really do have to push through, and they really need to prioritize getting the 3 out or getting the 4 out and making sure the killer gets as few hooks and as few progressions as possible.
Yeah, no, 110%, and we will be seeing Undying Alliance on Killer again here, but this time on the Blood Lodge. So we'll have to wait and see if High Surveillance is going to be the killer for this game number 3, or if it's going to be someone else. I mean, at this point, I think we kind of go back to a previous conversation on whether or not they bring out like a C or D tier. I think there's no reason not to now.
Yeah, I think now they can sort of relax and they could bring out a lower tier. I think they're at a comfortable point where they can let down their guard a little bit. The pressure from the first 2 games has been applied. They can bring out something that they're probably not going to really bring out if they were in a different situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, if you had to make a choice for what killer you'd like to see, if we do see a, you know, C or D tier, or even a B tier, who would you like to see for this match?
Oh, God. This is a Blood Lodge that we are going to for this next match.
Correct.
See, my first love is always going to be Trapper. But I don't think we're going to see a Trapper on this particular match. The map's just way too big for a Trapper to be really effective. I could see Hillbilly. There's a lot of traffic. It can go from place to place very quickly. I think Hillbilly could be the play if you're wanting to bring out a lower tier killer, but I don't know. You could also do Legion maybe, but even then, I don't think Legion would be effective.
Uh, can I interrupt and get a repeat of the score?
Yep, absolutely. So if we are looking at the total number of points as of this moment, that's 93 to Undyne Alliance and 20 to Immortal Alliance, so a 73-point difference.
Can you also repeat or tell me who won the match for confirmation for the prediction?
Yep, that would be Undyne Alliance by 23 points.
Alright, thank you.
No worries, no worries. But with that being said, we're still setting up the lobby here. Not sure just yet who will be killing, though it does look like it will be high surveillance again. So with that being said, you know, personally, for me, I see chat talking about a lot of Ghostface. Though, actually, hold up. Looks like it's not high surveillance. Looks like it's going to be Ryan. So that's going to be interesting. I personally have no idea what killers they play as. Do you have any insight?
I have no idea. I've only seen them play Survivor. They're gonna throw something at us that we're just not gonna expect. So let's just join the ride.
Let's see. I'm gonna say, let's suggest they're going to play. We're seeing chat ask for Ghostface. Let's say Ghostface. That's going to be my guess.
You know, I'm gonna go with a different stealth killer.
Gonna go with Wraith?
Mikey Boy.
You're thinking Michael Myers. Ooh,
Mikey
okay.
Boy. Stealth versus stealth.
That is a interesting thought, to be honest. I mean, he is a pseudo-stealth killer at times, to be fair, and with a 60-meter terror radius, you know, he is quite stealthy, especially if you slap on Dead Rabbit Monitoring Abuse, so maybe we could see that.
It could be. They could also just maybe want to go for the scares.
True. You know, when you have enough of a lead, you can kind of kick back, relax, kind of play it a little bit more like pubs, but you don't want to be too overconfident. You know, it's not, like I said, it's not impossible that Immortal Alliance can come back, but it is just not likely. And I don't think you want to put yourself into an awkward position moving into game number 4 if that does come to fruition.
No, I do agree. While we want to see these Ghostface, we want to see these Michael Myers, even your trappers. We still have to remember the game is not over yet, and Immortal Alliance. Wow, I don't even know what that was. Can still come back and have a huge comeback story, but it needs to start with this game.
Yeah, no, I mean that is the long and short of it, right? Where it is possible, and if Undyne Alliance does take them too lightly, they could result in a complete, 180, bringing the game back around, where Undyne Alliance in game number 4 needs to actually take it seriously. Whereas right now, if an instance that Undyne Alliance gets another 4K, that will be that will be when the Fat Lady sings the swan song for Immortal Alliance, and we'll probably see, one of the throwaway killers for game number 4.
Yeah, and so Immortal Alliance, I have faith in you. I have faith in you. Get the 4 out. You got this. This is what you need to be telling yourself. This is what you as a team need to be coming together with and saying, we can do this. So let's pull it through. Yeah,
no, absolutely. So kind of taking a step away from... the game right now, kind of going back to the PTB. Also, we saw a Plague last match. I want to mention something. I mentioned that I personally believe, currently as of this moment, Plague is a B tier killer. I do want to actually reference, though, how Plague did get what I looked at initially as a small buff, but after playing her, a pretty significant buff with her cooldown speed being increased exponentially. So, what are your thoughts? Have you played against the Plague? Have you played Plague in the PTB?
No, I have not seen Plague in the PTB, nor did I play as the Plague in the PTB. So I have no insight, but I will say, in order for the Plague to really apply pressure, having that boost in the oh god, you had just mentioned it.
The cooldown.
Yeah, a boost in the cooldown is going to apply pressure much quicker. And so I think it's going to be nicer for all the Plague mains that are out there in chat right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, after playing a bit of Plague, I think that boost in the cooldown speed, the movement speed, is going to result in Plague probably moving up to A tier, because she's able to, if she's on top of you at the time when she's going to vomit, you literally are not able to escape her. You don't gain any distance. She vomits on you. If she's able to break you in that moment, at right at the end of the vomit, she's going to hit you immediately. You gain 0 ground with the Vile Purge, and that even applies to the Corrupt Purge as well. So you're moving at, I think it's like 3.6 speed during your cooldown. So you are 0.4 meters per second slower than a Survivor, which is pretty much inconsequential, the grand scheme of things. So you're able to Corrupt Purge, hit the Survivor, injure them, and immediately be on top of them again.
Yeah, I really don't see how survivors are going to be able to get away with that. So you can see the argument in the Plague being moved up to A tier. I can see the argument when you present it in that way.
Yeah, it almost, it's kind of like, in a way, you know how Billy currently, for those who are a little bit less experienced, will be in the Survivor's back with the chainsaw. It's kind of like that same way, that sense of impending doom, where when a Plague is right on top of you, you really can't do much, if anything. And you're kind of just sitting there going, where's the pallet, where's the pallet, where's the pallet, I need a pallet now. And if you have any form of add-ons to increase the amount of infection with your vomit, then, you know, it's going to take a very short amount of time to break that Survivor and insta-down them.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly difficult. I'm actually looking up right now, and I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find the speed in which you mentioned that the Plague, while they're holding their Vile Purge, correct, is at 3.6 meters.
No, so how it works, it's so strange how Plague works. She has so much speed variability with her power. When she's charging, I think she goes down like to 2.6 or something like that. When she's fully charged, she moves back to her normal speed. And then when she vomits, it's normal speed. But then on the cooldown after the vomit, going through the animation, she slows down again and then picks up speed again. It's really, really strange on how it works. But basically, what they buffed was not the charge speed or what her movement speed is while charging. It's on the end of it. So as you're vomiting,
the cooldown.
Yeah, exactly. As you're vomiting, you're going to be, you know, at 3.6 basically, and just on top of that Survivor.
Yeah. Oh, this is why I'm not a Plague main. This is why I'm not a Plague main, and I'm trying to get the Adept for Plague, and it's just so hard. I'm just like, I respect all the Plague mains out there. It's not for me. You know. Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's why you want to keep your charges very short, very simple, very, you know, burst focused, where you're just able to get a quick vomit, continue chase, quick vomit, break them, down them. And so it's going to be interesting to see if people are going to start using Plague more and more. She was already very strong in the right hands, but now she's going to be even stronger. But we are jumping into game 3 here, and we see Ryan on the Oni.
Okay, all right. So Ryan is keeping to the mentality that, you know, it's not to be taken lightly. You know, still has a job that needs to get done, and let's see if they can get to it.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely surprising to see Oni here, as Oni is what I really refer to as some of the, you know, the top 10 killers in comp DBD. So to burn it in this instance is a little bit interesting to me. But maybe more or less, as you said, they're just looking to put the nail in the coffin, not give IA any room to, you know, potentially get a win here. So definitely surprised to see Oni, but we'll see if it's the right choice. This is a really rough map for Killer, especially in that middle area, depending on the RNG.
Yeah, and then I noticed that there was some sort of notification over here, and I'm trying to figure out what could have caused it, a speed vault, which I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah, probably a fast vault, maybe trying to take aggro here. Maybe they're thinking, okay, if we take Oni's attention away from wherever, that they might be able to make something happen. At the same time, they're moving out of their corrupt zone now. So, you know, as a survivor, you kind of want to keep Oni in that area and not outside over here where gens are currently active. And so Ocean here playing the LT wall. What are your thoughts here? Should Ocean have played back over by Bus on the other side?
I think they should have played Bus on the other side, because you want to get as much distance as they can, because now that gen that they could be working on, they can't work on it because there's a chase there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big issue. In the meanwhile, we do see some totems going down. So first totem of the match, and it looks like we now do see Ruin is still up, and Ryan does get that hit on Ocean. Ocean taking the vault, maybe trying to do a quick dumb tech, but it did not work, and Ocean is down on the ground and will be going up on the hook here.
Oh, and that was so unfortunate, because and now he's just wasted that pallet, and he still got hit with it. Ooh, that's rough to see. That's rough to see.
I mean, to be fair, at the same time, you know, that's a column tile. It's not the strongest pallet in the world. You mainly use that for distance when the killer's on the inside. So using the pallet's not the biggest deal. The fact that they did get down almost immediately after dropping it, however, is pretty significant.
Yeah, I wonder if they throw the pallet, even though they get hit, they go around and either force them to do the mind game or get rid of the pallet. That dumb tech obviously didn't gain him enough distance in order to really get the Oni out of there.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue, honestly, is just the fact that they waited for the pallet drop. One of the big things about Oni, and you'll hear this in comp all the time, is you need to play it safe. You know, drop pallets early, create distance between you and the killer. That way you're just able to rob them of their power very early on, because otherwise Oni's just an M1 115, right? And now it comes down to survivors being able to stay out of Oni's way for the entirety of his power if he uses it. But right now he's just going to hold it, and Ocean trying to mind game that window, and to no avail.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to be able to hold off on the power and really wait so that you can take advantage of it. And where's he headed? Are we aware as to what?
So the reason why Oni's over here, because you may have missed it, is that there was a Tinker proc in the distance. So Oni came over here to interrupt that generator and does get the down on the Meg, and is surprisingly enough not going for the pickup. You know, one big thing about Oni is you want to try and conserve his power as much as possible, but will go back for Ocean and does get the down. So, you know, theoretically 2 downs for the power is not bad, but now you need to get another 2 hits on healthy survivors to get your power again. So there's some give and take here, I will admit.
Yeah, no, I agree. They got the 2 slug, and with them, this will be Steve's second hook, and so I wonder what the play is now.
I mean,
he's going to collect all of the blood.
Yeah, the play here now is to once again stay out of Oni's way. These survivors need to heal, need to not give Oni his power passively, which we are seeing half his power now up. And I'm not sure if Meg thought maybe Ryan is wanting to respect the pallet or what, but very surprised not to see that pallet be dropped.
And I don't know if you saw it, but there was actually blood by that gen. That Meg was working on that generator and being injured against Oni. I don't know if that was the best decision.
Yeah, I think on one hand, getting the generator is going to be helpful in the long run. On the other hand, that gen for a trade is potentially not a great thing in this current moment in time. The biggest thing is that these survivors need to make sure they're healing quickly and being efficient about doing so to try and rob this Oni of his power as much as possible, as we already see Oni primed and ready for a potential another power if he does get the hit, but does not get it here on that window vault with the ace.
Did not get it, and I don't know if you saw it, but that ace has sprint burst. So I bet the Oni is very aware of that. It's gonna go, okay, that's a sprint burst. Who's got light? Who's got dead hard? Who's got the other exhaustion?
Yeah, but I don't think the Oni cares because they found Ocean of Flavor again, and as we have seen already, they've been on hook twice, so all Oni does need to do now is get him on the ground. Surprised to see them using a Wrath here to do so, as they're already injured. So maybe they thought they could get the down a little bit faster, but probably not the right move to use their power in that moment, where they could have gotten the hook here and immediately have sprinted over to the Tinker Gen.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think Ryan used his power a little early. I think you hold it, you get the Steve, they get out of the way, and then now would have been a great opportunity for use his power and to have put pressure on a gen that he just now lost.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see here what they're going to have to do to ensure the win, because we're looking at the gen spread. We have 2 gens on this side, 1 gen on the other. We don't know where that 4th gen is. I think that might be the one in middle, but I have not seen its aura to say for certain.
Yeah, I honestly... Oh, scratch marks. Someone's leaving some scratch marks. Who is that?
Hard to tell right away, but they do have that little bit of a 3 gen here in the back. I didn't realize that gen over by that drop pallet earlier was still up and running. So there's a bit of a 3 gen that Ryan is able to use, but very aggressive on their power here and popping off without really any idea where these survivors are. But they are able to get that Tinker proc and will go for the Fang Min and get the down on top of which.
Oh, that was good. That was great awareness by Ryan to know that Fang was going to vault the window, and so he decided to go inside instead of going outside of the blood lodge. That was very good awareness.
Yeah, no, really good heads-up play. You know, you kind of have to take the gamble on that one to see if the Fang Min's going to, you know, mind game you. But, you know, with that being said, is able to get the down. But these survivors not taking this down line and does get another Tinker proc on this gen. If there are 2 people on that, it will result in it popping off here.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Is there 1 or 2 people? Okay, we just saw someone run away. Look like the ace. If there were 2 people, I think they would have popped it.
Oh, no, exactly. Based on the Tinker timer, that would have popped off. But at the same time, smart play on the ace to kind of disengage, jump off the gen, and ensure they're either able to A, get the unhook, or B, to ensure they don't get a hit right away. But Oni, once again, has his power in hand. The only thing is that you have to remember that Oni does not have any form of gen regression available to him right now. So these gens are just passively regressing, and for those who don't know the numbers, it's 0.3% per second. So it takes upwards of 4 seconds for a single percent of that gen to get regressed.
Yeah, and God, working with only Tinker can't be nice, but this is the cons to running no pop, right? Is that you're now having to rely on... Whoa, another Tinkerer just procced. Are they back on? No, they're far. So that other survivor that we didn't see earlier was on the other side of the map trying to do that gen.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're seeing here. And fact of the matter is that the gen on the far side over on this side in the 3 gen has not been regressed, actually. They never, you know, kick that gen for some passive regression, meaning that theoretically they should be able to get both gens done in a timely manner. And I think that the smart play here might be to just 99 that gen on the far side.
No, actually, that would be very smart, because then if they're able to get rid of this generator that the Oni's going to right now, once that pops, you pop the gen on the other side of the map, and then immediately they've secured 20 points right there.
Yep, before it was looking like the survivors here could bring it back, but that double down by the Oni, I think that could seal the deal unless one of these survivors has Unbreakable or some way to get back up. And Ryan desperately trying to get Ace down as soon as possible to secure the win.
Yeah, I really do wonder. I bet one of them has Unbreakable. I really do. I think one of them has to have Unbreakable, otherwise it's game over. And there's no way that they're going to be able to come back in Game 4.
Yeah, no, 110% correct. And trying to fake out that window and no Unbreakable pop yet. It has been plenty of time, so my best guess is either Unbreakable was on the Ace or was on Ocean, who got killed out early.
That would explain the aggressiveness from Ace in order to get in order to pressure that gen, because at that point, sure, he leaves you so like he goes after somebody else. But if you have Unbreakable, pop right back up, finish the gen, and go to the other side.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you there, but at this point, I think Oni is just waiting out the potential for deliverance. And, you know, just sitting here watching Ace to ensure that he's not going to sprint burst off the hook, which I think is a smart heads-up play, because otherwise you do run the risk of him being able to pick up either survivor in the meanwhile.
Yeah, secure the progression and then hopefully find the other sludge survivors.
Gil, you're spectating Ace at the moment.
Yep, the reason for that
Okay.
is Oni was, you know, shaking his head quite a lot, you know, didn't want to make anyone nauseous.
Yeah, just the perspective of going up and down. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, see, Ryan's wanting to nod as we were mentioning.
Just wanted to check.
I don't know about you, but when a killer like nods their head in rapid succession, it just makes me a bit nauseous. I'm like, okay, no, let's end that here. Let's watch Ace. You know, he's on the hook. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I know. Ace will be just fine.
Yeah, but that being said, Ace does move on to second stage and does end up dying here. So it now comes down to potentially one of these survivors finding Hatch. It's not outside the realm possibility if they knew where it is, but it is less than likely to say the least.
Yeah, so hopefully the other survivor, Andreas, is crawling to it right now and is going to be able to escape.
And
that's
sure
what
enough,
happened.
they are. So nicely done there, but it might be a little bit too late as we are looking at 17 points for Immortal Alliance at the end of that match and 38 points for Undyne Alliance. That does result in 131 for UA and 37 for IA, which means that it is impossible for Immortal Alliance to win with the points remaining in game number 4.
Only a little bit impossible. Only a little bit. Is what, 100-point difference?
Yeah, I mean, once it gets above a 50-point difference, there's no way out. And so it'll be up to Immortal Alliance to see what they do next. I imagine they're going to bring out, you know, maybe a Trapper, maybe a Legion, you know, someone lower tier that they can burn.
You know, we could see a Trickster game.
Definitely not outside the realm possibility.
I mean, might as well if you're gonna go out in style and get the nice little wink. You know, I always love looking forward to that, and I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, so it definitely is not outside the realm possibility. I will say that, you know, Trickster's not as bad as he used to be. Do I think he's still comp viable? Not as much, you know, no offense to little Rugard, who is a Trickster main, but he definitely is not as comp viable. However, I do want to say however here, there is an argument to be made on Trickster's viability if the current, Blood Favor from the PTB stays. I'm not sure, did you test out Blood Favor at all?
I did not. I actually did not get a chance to test out the Blood Favor. So, from my understanding of the new Blood Favor that we're going to be getting, is that the cooldown for it is no longer going to be there.
Correct.
And it's going to apply to both your basic attacks and your special attacks.
So it's not it is attacks, but it's not attack. It's kind of interesting. It is when you hit a survivor with a special attack, so you don't need to injure them necessarily.
Oh, okay.
So the interesting part there is the fact that with Trickster, all you need to do to block off every pal within 32 meters is to hit them with one knife.
That is insane. That's insane. That's insane for the Trickster.
Just a little. So with that being said, if Blood Favor is kept as is, that could be rather significant. Of course, especially in comp, we see that survivors are cleansing totems extremely quickly. So is there an argument to be made that Blood Favor is something that you want to use? Maybe on Trickster specifically. At the same time, you do run that risk of all your totems potentially 2 to 3 perks being cleansed within the first 30 seconds. If an instance that the survivors are on their game and know where all the totem spawns are.
Which begs the question, because we talked about earlier about the high risk, high reward scenarios. We talked about a little bit about that with the boons earlier. maybe this is just another one of those instances where, there's high risk, high reward, and they're wanting to give Blood Favor that shine as well.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be interesting, to say the least, on what we see if Blood Favor does get tuned back a little bit, because I do think that the average player is definitely going to struggle with Blood Favor as is in the PTB. So, I'm curious. I will say another good killer that can run Blood Favor is Nemesis. Kind of a cute synergy. Even if he doesn't injure you with his M2, it still activates Blood Favor and locks down the pallet. So, it is kind of interesting to see how killers can potentially use it now that Blood Favor allows for special attacks to activate it. And with it, no cooldown. I mean, I ran it on Legion, and be able to Fail Frenzy 4 survivors and keep every single pallet in the area locked down for that entire Fail Frenzy was huge.
Oh, ow, that is dangerous. I never thought about it until you brought up Legion and using the Feral Frenzy. That is dangerous. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow, that hurts. That hurts.
It was pretty insane when it worked out in full.
I'm gonna have to go back into the PTB and then really try all this up, because now this gets me, energized about the update that's coming out, and hopefully the PTB's still out.
It is. It will be out until the 19th when it hits live. So yeah, plenty of time to test out some things, whether that be Blood Favor, the Death Slinger nerf, which I'm surprised to say isn't that significant.
Yeah, it's really not that significant, and it does level the playing field a little bit, because being on the survivor side, trying to play against the Death Slinger when he's got the quick scope and then shoots you, it can be difficult to dodge at times, and it provokes another question of guessing: is he going to take the shot or no? And so you try to mind game it and try to move, hopefully before he takes the shot. But even then, seeing the slower shot coming up, it's going to make it easier for survivors to at least dodge some of his shots.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that is going to be good for the average player. I think for a comp, it's going to be kind of interesting, because what I found is that if you commit to the aim down sight, it's kind of like Huntress, where you want to hold your hatchet for an extended period of time, right? And so rather than kind of just moving out of ADS back to your M1, you're kind of wanting to just hold your ADS down and then get that shot and kind of wait for the survivors to move back and forth or potentially give you distance. Though his movement speed is decreased, it's not as if you're going to be slower than a running survivor in that moment.
No, I can. Yeah, you bring up some valid points, so yeah, I get it. Oh, I just hate going against Death Slinger so much. I hate going against them. It's just, please leave me alone. I'm just trying to be a good bean and do some gens.
Yeah, but Slinger, much like most killers, they aren't a fan of that. You can't tamper with their generators.
Oh, okay, fine.
In order to do stuff like that, you need to buy him a sarsaparilla first.
Oh, that's what I was missing. That needs to be applied to the blood webs, and then I can give that to them. That's it. Behavior, get to it.
Slinger gets cranky when a saloon's not open, which, thankfully, based on what we're seeing from the PTB, Dead Dog Saloon will be back on October 19th.
Oh, thank God. I think that's one of the maps that a majority of people really do enjoy.
Yeah, it definitely...
So visually.
It definitely will be nice to have that back, and they've made some interesting changes to some of the loops, most inconsequential, but the main one is that the room at the top of Saloon, it's kind of the no-no room. If you jump into it and the killer's there too, you're gonna get hit or downed. They did change that, which has a bit of RNG now, which is kind of interesting. It doesn't always spawn with that window facing out and with the doors locked down. It can spawn with no window and having the door open on the other side, on the inside, to where there is one way in, one way out, but it is an open door versus a window that can be body blocked. But we are going to be
I love that.
Jumping in, and we are seeing a Trapper from Ryu's. So we'll see if we can get any hooks here.
Oh, Trapper, I love this. Let's go!
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Obviously, we're seeing Trapper bag here, as the current Trapper in Live kind of needs it. We talked about the Trapper buff briefly earlier, but with the Trapper buff, with things like Trapper Sack and, you know, other add-on changes, could we potentially see Trapper as a comp killer?
I don't think we'll see them as a comp killer. I do think that they will be seen as a higher grade as their skill set is improved, but I don't necessarily think that they're still going to be comp viable.
That's fair, and I'm thinking, I don't know if that was Ryan specifically running into that trap there, memeing around, given that they can get the win, or maybe that's just a really good trap location. We'll have to wait and see. But you know, I'm definitely intrigued to see whether or not Trapper does. His viability does increase, right? I think that theoretically speaking, he probably moves up from F tier where he was with Michael Myers, probably up to maybe D with Legion, potentially C could see some, could be argued with certain add-ons, because I will mention that Trapper Sack and Iridescent Stone is really, really strong, and Ryan, you're making me a bit suspicious here that you're purposely trying to find those traps. To be fair, good placement of traps. You do want to place them on corners of vaults to either make survivors have to loop out further or to potentially get the down in this regard.
Yeah, and what you're also seeing is that Ray picked up the very first trap that was stepped in and then placed it somewhere else. Because then now they're having to guess where did they put that trap once they picked it up. So this way there's no familiarity with where they've been putting those traps.
Yeah, that's the only downside of things like Trapper Sack, where you can't really pick anything up after you place them. But man, having every single trap in hand at the start of the match is so nice.
It's so nice. That with the Airy Zone that you mentioned earlier, chef's kiss, beautiful combo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do want to notice A, insane hit through that pallet, but B, do want to note that High Surveillance is currently broken, suggesting the usage of Forced Penance.
Yeah, they definitely know about Forced Penance now, because as soon as they got off of the hook and the hit was first applied to High Surveillance, that broken status came into effect. Everyone should be aware. Okay, sure. Just get off the hook.
I mean, hey, if you're broken, you might as well break yourself again, right?
Yeah, right. You can't be more broken than you already are.
Exactly. But looks like maybe UA is taking this game a little bit lightly, given that they can say with certainty that they have won this match, as they are messing around just a wee bit. But Ryu, you know, going for the slug on High Surveillance, potentially worried about that broken stats effect, thinking maybe he has Deliverance and DS. Chances are, though, I think he has either Unbreakable, but we'll have to wait and see, as he was able to at the very least get picked up. And Ryan looking a bit too far behind here and does end up getting downed.
Yeah, unfortunately, there just wasn't enough awareness for Ryan to know that Trapper didn't actually follow them, and they were looking behind them as they were doing the loop.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that definitely is something where you might want to slow down Shaq just a little bit, right? A lot of people, especially in comp play, they kind of take control of that middle area and wait for the killer to make the move and then choose to move thereafter, where Ryan kind of went right through held W, and that type of play will result in, you know, some less than ideal situations, to say the least. And looks like High Surveillance has conceded to Ray here and will take the down, as Ray did trap that pallet.
Yeah, recognizing that trap was there, he's like, you know what? Just go ahead, take your hook. The game doesn't matter. We're just here for fun right now.
Exactly. You know, these two teams are familiar with one another. I'm sure that they're having just a fun time, kind of relaxing as they play. We'll say, though, even though we're seeing some fun play from Ryan and High Surveillance, that these survivors are still doing gens. We're still we're now one gen away from these survivors being able to potentially escape.
Yeah, and the Meg was working on that gen over by Shaq's side, and getting the pallet stun going down to the main building, and Ray just choosing not to pursue.
Yeah, I think here, as we do see Pop going off, they opted to prioritize the Pop to slow down the game just a little, rather than committing to the chase.
So what would you rather do? Would you prioritize the pop or would you prioritize the chase?
I mean, normally in those situations, I'd like to get at least a hit in, right? But at the same time, to ensure that the game slows down, I think you do need to get that pop in. Though, at the same time, we're looking at 1 gen left with 3 survivors up. You know, we can probably assume that we're seeing that gen on the far side or on middle going to go off in just a few minutes. So you probably want to at least get it down here and secure another kill for the 2K.
Yeah, and I don't know if Ray knew that Meg was the one that was holding the medkit. And so I wonder if he could have pursued the chase knowing that. Or they were like, you know what, you can use your medkit, that's okay. I'm gonna go damage this gen instead.
Yeah, I mean, it is still time off the generators at that point, so might not be a bad idea, but you normally want to do that while there's passive regression currently active, and as we see, that Pop Goes to Weasel was not enough as that middle gen does go off, and so at this point, I think Ray just needs to try and get it down, but has trapped cats here in the corner, not allowing them to escape.
I don't know if you saw it, but the first swing actually hit the tires, and both of them recognized it. It was like, I'm not missing this time, and bam, took him down.
I'm not sure if that happened potentially, or if cats may have dead-hearted, but because there's that hitbox in front of them, they were not able to dead-hard through Trapper.
Oh yeah, that could have been a dead hard play. Yeah, you're actually right about that.
I
think that's what it was.
I'm a little bit curious to see for certain if that is the case. So let's take a look real quick. I wanna confirm or deny at this point if Cats was running dead hard here.
Yeah, why not?
What item were they using? Were they using a firecracker toolbox?
They were using the firecracker. It looked like.
So in that case, I think that was a dead hard, in fact. So that was probably exactly what happened, where they dead-hearted, and because they had something in front of them, they were not able to move past Trapper and got caught in the corner.
Yeah, it just looked very weird from this angle. It just looked like he hit the tires that were right next to them. It was like, okay, all right, I'll hit you again. Oh! High surveillance, what are you doing?
You know, coming out of nowhere, trying to get that unhooked, but run into the trap instead. Cats will move to second stage, and whether purposeful or otherwise, High Surveillance is down as of this moment, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not these survivors are able to get the 3-man out, or if that will potentially result in a, 3-man down here at the end of the match.
Well, I don't know if you saw it, but just briefly, I saw scratch marks on the trees by the exit. I saw that very briefly, and there we see the Meg.
And looks like she's going to play it safe and opt for the out instead. So she is dragging Trapper out to the exit gate, Trapper wanting to reduce resources, and pushes her out of the match. The question then remains, could High Surveillance have Unbreakable to try and get the remaining outs? But given the fact that he has not picked himself up yet, I have a feeling that is not the case.
Yeah, I think so too. And with that, I think we're going to see High Surveillance hung on this hook. And that is death for High Surveillance.
Yep, so that'll be the 3K for Ray. And we're looking at 23 points to UA, 34 points rather to IA. With a final score of 154 to Undying Alliance and 71 to Immortal Alliance.
Yeah, God, the 4-out game was so hard. I had no idea how they were going to be able to escape, and they gave it a shot, but unfortunately they just weren't able to gain any distance. They weren't able to pull themselves back into the match.
Exactly. But with that being said, congratulations to Undying Alliance with your win today, and GG's well played to both teams. And Travesty, I do believe you stream, correct?
I do stream. I stream at twitch.tv/TravistyOnDemand.
Awesome. So definitely make sure to stop on by and say hi next time Travesty is live. And as always, I am your commissioner and primary host, Giltspire. I am an educational Dead by Daylight player, here to teach kills how to play Killer and survivors how to play against Killer. Would love for you to stop on by and say hi. With that being said, we'll see you all at 4 p.m. CST, just 27 minutes from now, and we actually have a surprise guest. We have Direwolf from Dead by Esports joining me for How Do We Get Here versus Monarchy. So definitely make sure to be here in just another 26 minutes. On that note, guys, I'll see you in just a little bit. Bye-bye!